And now we're going to kind of move into the second half, which is kind of, to me, the more important. It's what we've just done is very important, but I think once you get a site, you want to stay there. I mean, that's one of the things that probably breaks your heart more than anything else, is you find a great site, and then you get the news that, well, we're probably not going to be there next year. What are we going to do? And it's all doom and gloom. So what can we do to keep a flying site? Probably the number one thing you can do is create relationships with your site owner, whatever that is, whether it's a private entity, if it's a corporation, if it's a state, if it's national, whatever it is. You got to create the relationship, and doing what you said earlier, talking to somebody, and in your case, I think you said you had some friends that spoke with a county commissioner or whatever, and they worked towards something, and down the road, when you got into a little bit of a struggle or a problem, they said, well, we like these guys, we really need to help them. That's where you want to be. You want to be looked at as, you're the good guys, and they see you as an asset in the community. Now, that can be because of a lot of different things, but the relationships that you create are the relationships that you want to nurture and continue for a long period of time, because your time that you actually may need to call on them may be 20 years down the road. It may not even be the same people that's in office. So you want to create that relationship so the county as a whole knows who you are, the community knows who you are and why you're there. Burying your head in the sand as a club is not really the best way to operate. You can think, well, that kind of keeps us safe and nobody finds out what we do, but in the long run, it's going to bite you in the butt. It really will. If you have a good relationship, what can you do to make it better? Are there things you're doing today, or it might be really good, but if you think outside the box, what could you do to make it better? There's so many different things that if you're involved in county or city, there's so many different things that they're involved in, that there are things that you can do for them. I know of clubs who do things like they go to extreme effort to do a lawn maintenance on the main highway outside the entrance to their field. The county does that, but they kind of have picked that up. And it's kind of a little thing, but when they come out and do their field work, they cut the grass and pick up all the trash. Well, over a period of time, that's become noticed that, that's a really nice area, and the club's done that, and so down the road, if something happens, there's somebody that will remember that, and they'll go, those guys really do a good job, and we ought to do something to see if we can do something to help them. Identify the strengths that your club has. You may have a guy who knows a counselor. That's great, man. That's a great place to be if they're on good terms. You might know them and they might be enemies, but hopefully they're good friends. So you cultivate those relationships. Find the strengths in your club. You may have a business person there, or an attorney, or whoever that's in your club that might have some sort of relationship or knows how to get in the door with somebody. You need to try to use whatever leverage you can. So identify the strengths within your club, and lots of times those are untapped. AMA is kind of going back to this. In the last couple of 3 years, we're trying to find out what our members' talents are. And we've found that we have a lot of people that are really, really smart, know a lot of things about what we do and how to deal with things a lot better than we know how to deal with it. And so we're trying to tap into the membership now and pull that resource to do a better job of what we're doing. Well, it's the same thing on a local level. You need to understand who your members are and find out how they can actually help you to improve your relationship, who they know, how they operate, those kind of things. Those strengths are something you really need to spend a little time and figure out what they are. And identifying the weaknesses is really just as important. If you got a guy that's kind of a hothead, you probably don't want him to represent you at the next council meeting. So you kind of want to pick your people, do the things that show the club in the best light. Identify what your strengths are, identify what your weaknesses are, leverage those in the best situation you possibly can. If you have someone in your club that maybe is a good speaker, they speak at their church, or they're whatever, that may be the guy you want to do all the talking for you. Have him do that. Be aware of your surroundings. You need to know who your neighbors are. You may not have any neighbors real close, but you need to be aware of what's around you, because that's the people that will directly impact, or they are directly impacted by your presence. So be aware of what that is. It may just be they don't know that you're going up this long road to fly airplanes because they don't know that they're there. But they see 25 cars come through on Sunday morning that they don't never see, except Sunday morning. And so they're concerned their kid's going to come across the street and get hit by a car. And if people are running down that road at 85 miles an hour and in a 25-mile-an-hour zone, I'd be concerned too. So you need to be aware of your surroundings. Don't let your club members do things that are just not smart, because that, here again, they'll be on the phone with somebody, next thing you know, you got a problem. The relationships that you want to work with are not just with the site owner, but that's one of them. The other one can be with your neighbors, like what I just mentioned. What can you do for the neighborhood for them to say, we're glad that you're here? One of the clubs that I was previously a member of is in a model park, Escambia County Model Park, but they do a yearly open house. And they go to the neighborhood and they pass out flyers and invite the kids to come out. They have balloons but model flying, you know, with a trainer box, and hot dogs and hamburgers, and they invite the families to come out. And so they come out, and last year they had about 80 people come out and buddy box. 80 different people flew on a buddy box in one day. If you've done that, that's a lot of people put on a buddy box, I promise you. So, but they had neighbors come out, the kids flew, mother and father flew, you know, granddad flew, and they had a great time. And at the end of that, they found out that several of those made comments weeks later saying, you know, we always heard that noise in the back. Now they don't call it noise. Boy, we hear you guys back there having a good time. They changed their tone from, we've heard that noise, to, we hear you guys back there having a good time. We're glad you're there. We always worried about that open park back there and what might be going on. Now we know what's going on, and so they see it as a positive. Even had an instance where the club's facility, where they had a little locker out there, and it got broken into, and they stole a little generator. Somebody stole a generator out of there. About 2 weeks after this event, the person that stole it was a 12-year-old boy, and he came out to the field with it, with his dad. And he said, I couldn't stand knowing that I had done this after what you have done for our community. And so I told my dad. My dad told me I had to come out here and bring it back. And so you know, that was kind of a real plus that you just don't expect. But that kind of changed the kids' idea when they kind of got adopted into the club, and now the kid's flying as a member of the club. So, you know, a situation that could have just been a vandal that you don't worry about anymore is now a positive, and now they're a club member that's flying. County officials, here again, anything that you do for the county that shows a positive light, that's going to help you down the road. Every little thing that you do makes a difference. And any time that you do something, you want to make sure they're aware of it. So if you have a PR person in your club, you want to make sure they're, you know, we're going to have a fly-in this weekend. Well, you know, make sure you tell the radio station or something, put something in the newspaper. Those guys generally read that stuff. Invite them to come out. Invite those county officials to come out. They like being having their name in the paper and getting a picture. So if you invite the county commissioner to come out and, you know, whatever, you're going to celebrate the 10th anniversary of your club, whatever the reason is, invite them to come out. They might not show up, but if they do, you might get a lot of publicity out of that. And news media. Don't forget to contact the news media. You might be having a fly-in, and you think, well, it's just a fly-in. Nobody's going to come up here. You might be surprised. Let the news media know what you're doing. If you're involved in any kind of charity work, they're always going to be interested in that. But it can just be a model airplane event. They may, if you stick on them long enough, use your whoever you have in the club. Maybe you have somebody that's in charge of that goes out and just looks at opportunities. But you want to make sure that you contact news media. It can be radio, paper, TV, whatever. If you can get that, some news media coverage, the AMA actually even will pay you for that. There's actually a way to get some money for the club, depending on if your event is covered in the newspaper, on the radio, or on television. And so that's something to help you want to do that, because that helps you and it helps us. And educators, and I've got some flyers here. I don't think Bill Pritchett's in here, but he's our new education director at the AMA, and we've just started, launched a new program, I think just like last week. It's a Model Aviation School Club, and you can partner. A lot of clubs already work with schools, but this partnership is to create a school club where the kids are actually the club. And now we've actually partnered with EAA to where our child, our entry level membership is now free. So instead of it being $1, it's now free. So they get a dual membership in AMA and EAA. If they join EAA, they're automatically an AMA member. And this education program is designed to set these school clubs up again where kids can have modeling events within the school. So that's something that we've just started. There's a lot of good information on that. The other thing is other symbiotic civic organizations. Lots of clubs are involved with Boy Scouts or Civil Air Patrol or different church groups. You want to utilize that as well. A lot of clubs in my area, there's several clubs that fly at church gymnasiums, and so they've got a real good relationship with church activities. And some of the things they do is they get involved with, maybe they have a food drive or something going on, and so the club gets involved in that. And that helps the church, and that helps their relationship with the church, and they continue to fly. So things like that are important. And any other groups that you're dealing with, like I said, it can be a sponsor. In one particular club that I've got some information on, they're flying at I think it's a Georgia Power, in this particular case, Georgia Power companies, they have some extra land and they're flying there. And so they determined what they wanted to do was do something for Georgia Power. Well, they got all the money and that's not a big deal. What do you do for them? Well, they ended up cutting the grass on one of their corporate offices that is out close by the site. They ended up just taking over the landscaping for them because they had 2 or 3 guys in their club that were landscapers. And so they said, well, we'll do that for them. Well, that was something that Georgia Power was already paying for themselves, but they just thought it was kind of cool that they did that. And so the club took that over, and they got invited to like their Christmas party. Bring the club and got kids come out to our Georgia Power Christmas party. So it kind of created another little level of admiration and respect for each other that they didn't have before. And it was utilizing just a couple guys in the club that were already in that business, landscaping business. So that was kind of an interesting situation.